Capital News tonight. 8 arrested for collecting spilled fuel from a lorry in Kagera. High Court dismisses application filed by the government against Tundu Lissu. And in sports, KMC head coach Jackson Mayanja says the team is ready for Azam FC in the Vodacom Premier League. Good evening. This is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Vanessa Victor. Let's get started with the national news. The police force in Kagera region has arrested 8 people collecting spilled fuel from an oil tanker belonging to Lake Oil Trans Company after it had overturned, causing the death of the driver. The accident occurred at Mshikamano area in Rusumo Ward in Kagera region when the oil tanker was on its way to Rwanda.
Officers working in this area came quickly and cordoned this area off to prevent a catastrophe like what happened in Morogoro. They managed to keep people away from this area. We're searching for those who illegally obtained 300 liters. Investigation is ongoing. We'd hoped that people would obey government's orders and the law which prohibits such behavior. We are grateful for the work done by the police. We commend them. The peace that you see now is as a result of work done by the police force. So far, a lot of oil has been saved.
And the former Member of Parliament for Singida East, Tundu Lissu, has won the preliminary round of a petition filed by the government opposing his application to challenge a Parliament's decision to unseat him. Lissu won his application after the High Court dismissed objections lodged by the government and accepted motions given by the panel of advocates defending Lissu, led by Advocate Peter Kibatala. Lissu had filed the application at the High Court in Tanzania and Dar es Salaam through his brother, Lute Mugwai, being the first step in fighting for the return of his parliamentary seat. The Ministry of Works, Transport and Communication through Tanzania Mechanical and Electronics Services Agency, TEMESA, has allocated 7.3 billion shillings for construction of Chato Nkome and Bugorola Ukara ferries in order to improve transport services. The contractor of the ferries, Songoro Marine Boatyard Company, has been given 8 months to complete the project.
We hope that work will be completed by February next year, so let us make sure that work is complete by then. I commend the government for providing us with this mode of transport, which will be a big help to residents of this area, particularly the poor. We commend the government for continued work to improve transport across the country. We shall carry out this work with absolute expertise so that work is done well and in time. We're well prepared and shall strive to finish at the set time.
Cha Ukara na cha Chato kitakamilika mwakani mwezi Februari.
And Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa said Tanzania aims to use the 7th Tokyo International Conference on African Development to convince Japan to support Tanzania in technology and industrial development in order to attain its goal of becoming a middle-income country by 2025. Prime Minister Majaliwa made the remarks after arriving in Yokohama, Japan, where he is representing President Dr. John Magufuli at the 7th TICAD conference.
As a result of this meeting, I would like to say that Tanzanians will be able to learn what types of opportunities that we can obtain from our ties with Japan. Regarding all African countries, they will be able to learn of Japan's goals in its relations with the continent. I would like to say that it will be interesting for us as the continent to learn of Japan's goals in its relations with the continent, which include economic, diplomatic, and cultural ties, among others. The goals of African countries in its partnership with Japan will also be revealed. Also, as Tanzania, we have come to this meeting with our own set of goals, which include transforming our country into an industrialized economy. One of the benefits of having this TICAD meeting is that all African countries will be able to adopt a joint position, whether those countries are from the various blocs on the continent, like ECOWAS, the EAC, and SADC, among others. The adoption of this common stand is important because it will help us to more clearly define how we want our partnership with TICAD to help us achieve sustainable development on the continent. The meeting will also help to bolster economic and business ties between Africa and Japan in what is a win-win relationship for both parties. Also, in these discussions, I would like to say that we shall meet with the Japanese International Cooperation Agency, JICA, and the Development Bank of Japan to see whether we can work together with the bank and the agency on various projects in the energy and infrastructural sectors.
Another casualty of the Morogoro oil tanker accident has died at Muhimbili National Hospital in Dar es Salaam, making the death toll rise to 102. The head of public relations at Muhimbili Hospital, Minieli Aligeisha, has said out of 47 casualties admitted at the hospital, 13 are remaining and continuing with medical treatment.
Out of the 47 that came to Muhimbili, of course, one died on Friday afternoon. Now there is only 13 remaining, out of which 7 are in ICU and 6 are in the ward. They are going through therapy and counseling. It is only right that we should support the president. In addition, we'll be supporting our community. We must also support each other in other areas too. Today, I'll be donating 370,000 shillings.
A meeting held to discuss the draft of new transport regulations in Arusha, attended by transport stakeholders from Northern Zone regions, has ended with stakeholders demanding to be given more time to read the draft regulations and walking out of the meeting.
We must not only consider ourselves honors, we must look into the other side so we can all move forward together. We will sit with our own people and explain it to bus conductors and drivers so they can have an understanding. These incomplete meetings will end up causing us problems in the future. We must have more time for review.
The Minister of Energy, Dr. Medad Kalamani, has directed for the arrest of the Managing Director and Assistant Supervisor of CRCEG Construction Company from China, who are implementing the third phase of the Rural Energy Distribution Project in Katavi region. Minister Dr. Kalamani said he was dissatisfied with the performance of the project, which is supposed to be completed by December of this year.
I asked all Chinese nationals who are in the country should be here and not in Dar es Salaam. I want this job to be done soon. What we need first, before anything, is discipline. The engineer that was assigned here did not perform, so we had to replace him. This government is very serious about supplying electricity to small-scale mines. Today we've connected 31 small mines with electricity.
And that's all for national news. International news is next. In international news, the Democratic Republic of Congo has announced a new coalition government 7 months after the inauguration of President Felix Tshisekedi. The power-sharing agreement saw 23 members of the executive drawn from Tshisekedi's Direction for Change party and the remaining 42 from former longtime President Joseph Kabila's Common Front for Congo FCC coalition.
Here in the West, we do not ask for much. All that we want is peace, because if we have peace, we will have all the wealth. They should bring us safety, because women in Beni are struggling very much due to the killings and daily rapes. We want peace and safety restored to Beni.
President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya has flagged off the first shipment of the country's crude oil. Kenya will export 200,000 barrels of crude oil from Turkana, marking its entry into the League of Oil Exporting Countries.
The flag-off and commencement of the early oil pilot scheme in June 2019 marked the beginning of what promises to be a long but fruitful journey towards full development of Kenya's oil and gas resources. It showed the global markets that Kenya possesses the know-how and infrastructure required to facilitate full field development, which will be marked by the production and pipeline transportation of first oil from Lokichar to our port of Lamu. This early oil pilot scheme has also brought with it prosperity for the people of Turkana, but also the wider republic, with very many local communities directly benefiting from employment opportunities in production and logistics, in addition to the provision of ancillary and support services.
The government of Rwanda said it will provide health insurance to all refugees being sheltered in the country so that they can access health services like other citizens. The announcement comes after talks between the government of Rwanda and the United Nations High Commission for Refugees on how to facilitate medical care for refugees within the country.
Refugees have the right to receive treatment, and the aim of the government of Rwanda is to ensure that all the refugees in this country live like normal citizens, and we are working with the government to complete this plan. I have received this move well, because the first move is for people to have insurance. If you don't have it when you are ill, then you can die or get into other problems. However, with insurance, you are guaranteed of safety.
Environment stakeholders from Africa are attending a conference in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to discuss climate change and action needed to be taken to address the problem. Some of the participants have called on the United Nations to collaborate with community organizations in African countries to deal with the effects of climate change.
We are working with other countries to ensure that our leaders in the African continent give priority to resolving climate change. We also hope that this will bring about productivity in the economy, that it will create employment, that it will lead to the construction of industries that will be environmentally friendly, so that various opportunities can be realized from our dealing with climate change. We want to tell them that they must listen to the demands of organizations and see how we can work to ensure that Africa is heard internationally.
That's where we leave off with international news, but business news follows after this break.
Watch Business Edition as we talk to business leaders and experts in sectors that are transforming Tanzania's economy.
To be rich, I have to be a business person.
It's not an easy road at all.
People need to understand. You must quickly think, how cost effective are you going to be?
Business acts as a way in which it can bridge that gap.
Business Edition will keep you informed on latest developments in the financial sector, extractive industry, tourism, agriculture, energy, construction, and so much more. Meet entrepreneurs who create employment opportunities. Watch Business Edition on Friday at 8:15 p.m.
Thank you for staying with us, and on to business news. The big number of tourists visiting the country has caught the attention of locals living near tourism attraction sites who have started to form into groups and tour various tourist destinations, including national parks.
That is a big opportunity for our country, and we commend the fifth phase government through our President John Magufuli. We also commend the government and our President for the significant job that he is doing for tourism abroad. We have placed a center there to encourage people to visit the reserve today. We received local tourists, and we ask that you continue to be motivated to come and look at the beautiful and diverse wildlife. The response by citizens has been significant. We have had 3 buses of locals coming here to visit Mkomazi, and we have been told that next week 3 more buses will be coming. This is very good, as they are paying all the prices that tourists usually pay to come here.
The Chief Executive Officer of Capital Markets and Securities Authority, CMSA, Nicodemus Mkama, has called on financial institutions in the country to increase customer education on the benefits of saving in order to grow capital, business and investment activities.
To implement the industrial policy, you need to have capital that can do so, and this can happen when you have large investors from outside and inside the country. First, we call on all investors, both foreign and local, to use this service that has been launched today.
More than 40 ICT specialists from 20 African countries are attending an online training on international trademarks and property rights, which has been organized by the Business Registration and Licensing Agency, BRELA, in collaboration with the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, so as to empower businesses to register trademarks and other services online.
Baada ya hapa kupata uelewa huu, ina maana hii mifumo itaboreka zaidi na zaidi.
After gaining this understanding, then the systems will continue to improve, and once they have been improved, we expect that these services will be very good for the public and there will be no deficiencies that come up.
Challenges. Most of them start from resourcing, because most of the offices that we support, they face budget challenges, you know. They like maybe the human resource, the skilled human resource to implement such projects, and also the funding to acquire the services for maybe an external provider to come in and assist with the implementation of these systems.
And that's all for business news. Sports news is next.
Away first time, good start from Bolt. Bolt leading a moment of going away. Gay trying to go with him, and he's going to be dragged through to second place, but he's going to win it by 2 meters. Away first time, good start from Bolt. Bolt leading a moment of going away. Gay trying to go with him, and he's going to be dragged through to second place, but he's going to win it by 2 meters. Opposition, Joaquinho, he did lose to Lend.
And in sports, KMC head coach Jackson Mayanja says he has nothing to fear when facing Azam FC tomorrow in the Vodacom Premier League.
So mimi nafikiri hawana hiyo tatizo hiyo.
I don't think they have that problem because I have built them psychologically that we don't have the level here. We lack experience to play in the Champions League, so we should come back to the league and see how we can do.
Tuone namna zitaendekana.
The B-Ball Kings head to the best of 16 this weekend at the Don Bosco Court in Upanga, Dar es Salaam.
Draw imekwisha kamilika. Kila mtu ameshajua nani anakutana na nani.
The draw has been finalized. Everyone knows who they are going to meet. There are teams that have been very interesting to people, and some were wondering who the teams will face in the round of 16, like TMT, that led by a huge margin, scoring 88, and they will face another strong team, which is Weusi Basketball Club.
Mauricio Pochettino admitted that Tottenham are far, far away from the creation of the required togetherness, as he lamented the lack of desire in their 1-0 home defeat by Newcastle. Here's more.
He has made plain his unhappiness at how the transfer window continues to be open in Spain and other major European leagues, yet closed in England, saying that it leaves Spurs vulnerable to predatory approaches. The situation is most unsettling with regard to Christian Eriksen, who has said he's open to new challenge, having entered the final year on his Spurs contract. Pochettino is fearful that a leading club could still attempt to price Eriksen away before 2nd of September.
Barcelona have added more money and more players, including Ousmane Dembele, to their bid for PSG star Neymar, reports Telefoot. Here are more details.
Blaugrana have soared on Dembele, who could relish a chance to be reunited with his former manager Thomas Tuchel at PSG. However, Neymar has not ruled out staying one more season with PSG should Barca or Real Madrid not come through with an acceptable offer for his services. PSG will miss both Kylian Mbappe and Edison Cavani for a few weeks, the two being injured, and Neymar's departure looks to be inevitable.
Manchester United are to meet representatives of Facebook following the online racial abuse of Paul Pogba and Marcus Rashford. Here is the story.
The attacks on the players came via Twitter after penalty misses, with Pogba targeted after Monday's draw at Wolves and Rashford in the wake of Saturday's defeat by Crystal Palace. United were already due to meet Twitter and have now decided discussions with Facebook are required because of the trend of online racism aimed at players. The club recognized the problem is less pronounced on Facebook, but are determined to be as proactive as possible. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said he was lost for words after the abuse of Rashford.
And that sports item ends our news bulletin. My name is Vanessa Victor. Thank you for watching and good night.